That's because I have exams going on right now, but normally you should be able to fix in recreational activities and studies in med school too. Okay, so moving on to presentation. Okay, so common questions. Do I need to have medically related or yeah, okay. Do you need medical experience? No, not really. So there are 5 universities that apply to in Czech Republic. Those are the most, I think there are only like 5 universities usually apply to for medicine. You have Charles University, which has 3 faculties. So they're each treated as separate universities. Yeah, and then you have Masaryk, which is the university I go to, and you have Palaki. So you have interviews for Charles and Palaki, and that's when they ask you whether you have like any experience. And I didn't have any experience, so I said no, and I still got in. So that just goes to show that you don't really need medical experience. Yeah, the next question: who should I take my letter of recommendation from? Again, you don't need a letter of recommendation for any of the Czech universities. It's a very simple process. You don't need all of this. It's just the entrance exams that you need to focus on, which I'm going to be talking about further. What can I do if I'm determined, but my grades aren't good enough? So the good thing is with Czech Republic, your school grades don't matter. Like you just need to pass high school, and that's all. But then each university has an entrance exam, including the different faculties of Charles. So the first faculty, second faculty, and third faculty, they're going to have different entrance exams, and you can't get into the first by just passing the third faculty. So yeah, you'll have like 5 different entrance exams if you're applying to 5 different universities, and that is what helps you like get into university. And some of them do have an interview, but yeah, there are like 3 universities that have an interview: the Charles first faculty, second faculty, and Palaki. Masaryk and the third faculty don't have an interview. It's just based on that theoretical entrance test, which the syllabus you can find online. I will mention more about it later on. Okay, and the IELTS and TOEFL, you don't, yeah, the IELTS and TOEFL, you need it for Palaki just to show that, you can speak English, but then you don't have to do it. It's really I would call it useless because you can just you can just do the language test given by the university, or you could just ask your school to issue a letter to the university saying that you studied in English. So your medium for studies was English. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so choosing the right university. As Archusha said, ranking does not matter, but then I did look into ranking, and ranking for Charles was considerably higher than Masaryk, but I still chose Masaryk over Charles because the online reviews for Charles weren't like the best, and the ranking for Charles has been consistently dropping for the past 4 years, and Masaryk has been increasing. And it's a 6-year course, so you want to like think about how the university is going to be doing after 6 years. So that's why that was like 1 plus point to Masaryk. And then, okay, so personal student reviews. If you know anyone personally going to a university you're interested in, I would recommend taking their reviews too, of course, rather than just relying on online reviews, because online reviews tend to be biased because, it is biased. So a person who you know personally who is attending university will give you a more of an honest review, but just go for both of them, to go through both of the reviews. Okay, and budget. Budget is super important. For me personally, UK was my first option, but then as Archie said, it's really costly. It's like 3 times the cost of Czech Republic. So including the living cost and the education, it's like 3 times the cost of staying and studying in Czech Republic. And that to me just wasn't feasible. So that's why I came to Czech Republic. And you still have like almost, I wouldn't say the same opportunities, of course, but you can, study further in UK or any other country. All your degree is going to be accepted in every country, no matter which university in the Czech Republic you graduate from. Everything has the same value. But then some people do say online that graduating from Charles would look better on your CV, but it's the same degree. So that way ranking doesn't really matter, but then it depends. It honestly depends. But yeah, you could look into ranking, you could choose not to. I would personally ask you to go through the other points and then like choose whether the ranking really is that important, you know. Okay, and then look at priorities of your university. So the Masrik is super into research, and that is something I wanted in my university. I want them to have like modern equipment, everything up to date, and them being into research because that's something I'm into. They have this simulation hospital, which is the only simulation hospital in the entire Europe, and it opened this year, and it's really interesting. Like if you're looking into Czech Republic or Europe in general, I would highly recommend you looking into Masrik because of the simu. And yeah, okay, so the location of the university, I'm sorry, I missed that point. So by location, of course, the country and the town in the country. So I chose Brno because it's a student town. Most of the people here are students. So everyone is going to be super helpful to you because they're all students. They know what you're going through, yeah? And even the accommodation here, like apart from dorms, you can find apartments which are catered for students. You're going to have like a lobby, you're going to have working space, your apartment will be decorated, furnished in a way that suits a student lifestyle. And Brno is like calm. It is less distracting compared to like a capital city like Prague. So that you need to look at that too, because it's 6 years. Do you want to get distracted, or you could just look at, do you want to like experience everything? I chose not to get distracted because medicine, but then if you're into like new experiences, then of course you would choose a place like Prague compared to Brno because you don't have as many new experiences here. Then teaching style. So by teaching style, I mean like the number of the student to teacher ratio. So over in Maastricht, they teach like, they divide the entire student body into many groups. So you have like one teacher teaching maybe like 30 students, and which is something I personally wanted because the professor can, you know, see if you're understanding and you can ask doubts, and it's very interactive compared to a very big classroom and just one professor teaching and going away. You know, it's personalized learning that way. And also because it's medicine, cadavers to me was important, like dissecting on cadavers. I have it next week and I'm in my first year. So you get to dissect real cadavers in your first year. And that is something that is illegal in a lot of countries. So if that's something you're into, I would recommend you looking at it beforehand, before joining the university, because if you want to work with real life cadavers, then you have to look at the country and the legal processes and all of that. Then the student community. As in for us in Maastricht, there's a group called MIMSA, and it's comprised of like all these international students who help you. Like the higher your students are going to help the lower your students get through med school, and just going to give you tips, study tips, and they have like a lot of events just to make medical and medicine more lively. So you live your life and you study, because it is a very intense course, as it's pretty obvious, but then you still get to live your life, you know. So just look at the community too. Okay, so some tips and tricks. Now, okay, the first step, I cannot tell you how important practicing past entrance exam papers are, especially for chemistry and math or physics. So math or physics. So Maastricht and Palaki offer you an option between math or physics, but then none of the child's universities offer that option. You have to give physics. So in case you haven't taken physics in high school, I would recommend starting preparation for that a bit earlier on, because it's not hard, but like it is new. So yeah, so you have biology, chem, and physics or math, and practice the past year papers, especially for Maastricht and Palaki, because most of the stuff in the exam just comes from past year papers, or at least a topic. So I would recommend you practicing like 1 or 2 exam papers and then starting your studies from the study materials provided by the university, or like, you know, your high school study materials. So yeah, I would recommend doing those 2 papers or something and then going to study, so you know what to give emphasis on while you're studying. You don't just waste time, you know. So yeah, you can get these materials from the university website. You can get the past entrance exams from the university website. If you're living in the UAE or India, there's a company called Gyanberry that is going to help you with your application process and all of that if you choose to go through them. So they will provide all these materials to you and they will do the application, all of that work for you. So it becomes very easy. Like all you have to do is pass the exams and yeah. Okay, so choose the entrance dates wisely. So you're gonna have 2 slots. For me, it was like super messed up because of COVID. But then normally you have 1 slot in Feb and 1 slot in May. You choose when do you want to give your entrance exams. Okay, so if you're okay, so your school grades don't matter. But then if your school exams are falling in Feb, like for me in CBSE, it fell. My board exams were in February, and it becomes too stressful managing school and entrance. Even if school isn't a priority, you can't completely ditch it at the same time. Like I couldn't. So I chose to give my entrance exams later so I could concentrate on both of them and I wouldn't really sacrifice on one for the other. Yeah. So choose the entrance exams date wisely because you have one shot at it per year. And if you don't get in to the university you want, um, it's okay. You can stick a gap year, or you could do a foundation year under the same university. And honestly, many people, like I'm one of the youngest people here, and I'm 18. Many people are in their 20s and they're still in the first year because they took a gap year, because, and it doesn't matter, like age really does not matter here. Just focus on the university you want to get into. And yeah, because at the end of the day, everyone's going to become a doctor. It doesn't matter if it's like 1 or 2 years later. So yeah, stay true to yours. Okay, so now after passing the theory exams, you have your interview for certain universities, and it's pretty chill. It's not as intense as UK, and there's no special preparation required. They might ask you ethical questions or stuff about yourself, and maybe theoretical questions too. But that is all done in your entrance exam itself, like during the theory part. So that is fine. You don't have to worry about it. Um, yeah, I think that is all the points. Okay, yeah, okay. So I'm so sorry, preparing for one university, because like the 5 universities I had to apply to, I just prepared for one of them. I prepared for Masari because that's my first option. And you preparing for one university basically prepares you from all of them. What I would still recommend you doing is practicing your papers, like past papers for each university, because that is super important. Like that is really important. Yeah. And don't stress yourself. It's very easy. Like getting into Czech is not that hard, but staying in university, that's hard because it's pretty stressful. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. If you have any questions, you could ask us.
Hey guys, feel free to put your questions in the chat box. Maha, you can ask your question.
Verbally or just put in the chat?
Verbally, it's fine.
Okay, first of all, thank you so much, guys, for giving me such a good insight into applying to colleges. I love this session. I love the webinar. Did you both do the NEET exam, the NEET entrance examination? Because I've heard it's important.
Any one of the
I
speakers
didn't
can
do it.
answer.
I didn't do it either. Like you don't really
Yeah, I didn't do
require
it.
it.
So,
Oh, okay. That's hopeful and insightful. Just like few more questions I'm gonna throw out there. So for apply, so the UCAT and the BMAT, right? If that's correct. What kind of preparation did you do for it? I wanted to ask you that.
yeah, so normally a lot of students use Medify. So that's like a website which gives very similar questions to the actual exam, and they have like mock practices and like for each section and like entire test for the actual exam. So people normally use that, but for my batch, the questions on Medify were much easier than the actual exam. So the best part about the UCAT and BMAT exams are that it's related to everyone else's performance. So even if you think that you did badly, there will be other people who bring down the median score as well. So even if you have done extremely well, it will still, the average will still be brought down lower. So it's nothing that there's nothing like a good or a bad score, because it depends on how your peers perform. So, and from BMAT as well, people use Medify. I didn't write the BMAT, but I would definitely recommend you to write the BMAT if you can.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think the next question is for Juveria. Sophia asks, do you need to learn German for Sketch Uni?
Oh, no. So you don't need to study any language beforehand. In university, they do teach you Czech, which is actually really helpful because most of the people here speak in Czech, and everything here is mostly in Czech. So it is a good thing that the university teaches you Czech, but you don't need any of that for your entrance exam.
Okay.
Okay,
next
so I
question.
got a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a question asking about any major special challenge for international students. So, like I mentioned, the biggest challenge would be the number of seats. So, like I mentioned, is just like around 15 to 23 seats out of like 250 students. So that's, I think, the biggest challenge because you will be competing against people like from all over the world. So that's good. That's something which is very hard. And because of that, you would need a higher like higher number of grades and higher you get. Your overall thing has to be like good and not just like the minimum cutoff, because that's mostly for the home students because they have a large number of seats. So I would say the seats is like the main challenge we face.
For Czech, you don't really have discrimination between international kids and Czech because the Czech kids usually study in Czech and they have an entire course for international students only. And if you meet the criteria for getting into the university, you're going to get in. They're going to push you away just because someone did better than you. Like if you meet the criteria, you're going to get in, you're going to get a spot. So don't worry about the international, there's no discrimination.
Okay, I think the next question is just more of a general question for both of you. So Dilnoza asks, could you please recommend some universities to apply?
So for the UK, you first need to write your UCAT exams, get your predicted scores, and send your application. Only then, I mean, to finish your application, only then we can like choose a university. So without actually getting your UCAT and your predicted scores, you can't like choose universities because each university has a different requirement, and some universities are heavier on your predicted scores and some of them require a higher UCAT. So they normally balance it out, which is why you need your scores to apply before you can.
Okay, so Maheen asks, we usually have our 11th, 12th exams during the time we have to prepare for these medical exams. So what do you suggest? Should we focus on our 11th, 12th, or the entrance exams? And also, when you said that remaining in the university is hard, can you elaborate on that? I think Juveria said that.
Yes, okay, so I would recommend focusing on the entrance. But then if you're studying for your school, honestly, you're studying it for the entrance at the same time because the syllabus, I got a question about the portion. It's your 11th and 12th grade. For CBSE, it was 11th and 12th grade portion. It's all available on the website of the university, so you can just check and you'll know. It's just general stuff. 12th grade students should know in biochem and physics. Okay, what was the next question? I'm so sorry, I forgot it.
I think it was
remaining
okay, in the university is hard. Can you elaborate on that?
Medicine is so intense, and the thing they do here is they put so much workload because in the first 2 years, those 2 years are like the most intense years, and that's when most of the people drop out or they fail. So you won't waste a lot of time of your life if you will know what the medicine is for you in the first 2 years. That's what I mean when I say it's hard, because it is very intense and demanding. You have a lot of courses in the first 2 years and a lot of exams to give. People still enjoy and you're still going to get to live your life. It's just those first 2 years are just intense. They're going to be demanding, but they're going to be worth it. So I hope that answers your question.
And also, for the UK entrance exam, yeah, for the UK entrance exam is actually given normally in summer vacation, like in the months of June, July, August, we give the UCAT or the BMAT exam. So during that time, like Julia said, we would obviously like advise you to focus more on your actual entrance exams. But the thing is that for at least in my school, which was an Indian curriculum, we needed a predictor scores, which had the same preparation time as the UCAT exam. So that's why it could get a bit tricky sometimes, but obviously you should focus more on your entrance exams.
Okay, the next question goes out to either speaker. Are you able to talk about why you chose to study in the country that you did? From Meredith.
Okay.
So like I explained, firstly, the education style was like, it was like different because we go mostly by the system wise. So I felt like that integrated your learning more, and also the country. I personally like Europe a lot, and especially in the UK. I like the weather. I actually had to go to the university and give my interview there. So I fell in love with the place the moment I landed. So that was another reason. And it's mainly the curriculum and the fact that after you graduate, you have a more clear demarcation of your like future doctor life. So I feel those 2-3 things were very important.
Do you want to answer also, Javeria?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. So as I mentioned, the budget. So Czech is much cheaper than the UK, and also your degree is valid everywhere. Plus, I love the place. It fits my vibe. That's what I mean. It's the budget, mainly the budget and the style of teaching. The cadavers, you get to work with cadavers like dead bodies, and the simulab, which I mentioned, the simulation hospital. That's a big thing too, as to why I selected Czech Republic.
Okay, the next question is from Chrislyn to Archisa. How important is math to get into universities? Like, do you need to take the subject in the 11th or 12th grade?
Okay, so universities don't actually need you to take math, but I would personally recommend you to take math, mainly because it actually helps you in the statistical part of medicine, and you actually have math involved in medicine, even though you might think it doesn't. So it actually does help you. And being an international student, you are not able to apply to all 33 universities. You can apply to only around like 25 or so, and they might ask you to take math. For example, my university, Liverpool, until 2019 actually did require math as a compulsory subject. Only for my batch they had removed that the the requirement. So I would personally recommend you to take math. However, it's not something required by all universities to get in.
And I think Dilnoza has the same question, but this time it's about chemistry. So would you say chemistry is also important?
Chemistry is super important. Thing is that you can get into uni by taking chemistry and not biology. So in fact, biology is not as important as chemistry, ironically, in medicine. But I mean, to be honest, my first class was biochemistry in medical school. So I feel chemistry is extremely important, and you have to take it to get into med school in the UK.
The next question is from Maha, and it's for either of you. What month did you both apply to universities in during your 11th/13th classes?
I had to submit my application like maximum by November, and I was done with all of it by September. But that's just applying. I gave my exams in June. June for me, it'll be May for you, but because of COVID, everything got delayed. So I had to give it in June. But then, yeah, the application deadline I think is November. Just check online again because it differs from year to year.
And for the UK, the application is normally around October 15th. So that is during the last year of your high school. And I got a question about scholarship in the UK. So for international students, getting scholarship is almost near impossible. But I applied for scholarship and I got scholarship. But then there's an issue with my fees because they keep sending me emails saying that you have to pay for the amount of my scholarship. So I don't understand whether I actually got it or not, but it's highly unlikely that it was a mistake on their part. So normally you don't get scholarships for international students, but there's no harm in emailing universities and asking them that beforehand. But I would say no.
The next question is having maths or physics as your third A-level subject important? Will the chances of getting into med school in the UK be lower if you only do biology and chemistry and another third subject, for example, history or sociology?
No, not really. They just want to check your grades. It doesn't matter what subject it is. But like I mentioned, it would just help you in your 5 to like 13 years of studying medicine. So I would recommend you taking math specifically, even though you do have physics involved in like studying bones and the orthopedic part as well. So I would recommend you to take math, but it's again not compulsory.
Okay, the next question I think is from Maha to Juveria. What is the fee structure of universities in Czech?
Okay, so it's about 10 to 15k euros per year. Depends from university, but that's like the approximate range.
The next question is from Maheen, and it's also sort of a general question. What would make sure of your admission in a medical university?
In the UK, nothing. You can't be sure of your admission because even if you feel that you have gotten high scores and everything, you can still be rejected by the university. And I know so many students who have had like really good UCAT scores, really good predictor scores, but they still didn't get an interview invite or they got rejected after the interview. So the best thing I could say to you is be prepared for facing any sort of scenario and always try to give in your best in any sort of scores or in your interview, because the thing is that if you get like a lower score in your UCAT, for example, you can still make up for it in your interviews or your personal statement. So never lose hope. Like I said, there's always somewhere you can compensate your scores in, but there's no certain factor that you would definitely get in to uni, especially because we're international students.
The next question is from Maha to Juveria, and it says, you mentioned something about Gyanberry. Did you pay for their services?
Yes, I had to. So when you go there, your first consultation is going to be free. You can ask about any country, including the UK. It's for many international countries, and you can do different courses, not only medicine. So they'll help you, they'll guide you, they will tell you all about the entrances, they'll help you. But then if you want to avail their services, you do need to pay a fee.
The next question is also sort of a general question. Is volunteering really important for international students?
I mean, like for the UK, it is quite important because some universities actually ask you for a certificate of evidence that you actually did volunteer. So I would say it is really important, but it doesn't really matter how many times you do it. It's just that you have done it, and that shows that you actually care about the society. You want to give back to the society because that's something which doctors do. So in the UK, they very much look into your personality as a high school student and how similar that is to a future doctor. So they just want to see you, like, can you actually fit into the shoes of a doctor? Are you ready for all that? So it's just that, and volunteering is just one of the few things.
For Czech, you don't really need any volunteering, as I mentioned. It's good if you have it, but they're not gonna knock you off just because you don't. Because as I said, entrance exams, that's like the main thing. So just focus on the entrances. Don't worry about volunteering if you're choosing Czech.
Our next question goes out to both speakers. Were there any challenges you had to face while studying in a different country?
Okay, so I came here last month because my visa got delayed. So I was doing this online. So it's just been a month since I'm here. Food is going to be a problem initially. Staying away from your family will be a problem. Staying on your own, getting used to a new country all alone, that is hard. If you have a friend or somebody you know with you, it's going to make it easy. But then I assure you, you're going to settle in. It will be super hard initially. And you might feel like you won't get through it the first week, but trust me, it gets easier and you'll get through it.
Yeah, I would agree with Julia. I've had the same problems, especially food, because that was like the first time I had to cook on my own for myself. So that was like a very different thing. And also living alone. So I live in a studio and like I have to clean my own like room, vacuum it, make my own food, clean my dishes, and like do everything on my own for myself. So that whole experience is very different. And honestly, it's good because it just prepares you for the future because you have to live alone eventually. And I think the biggest challenge we both face right now is because of COVID, we don't actually get to see our classmates a lot. We don't have that much of an interaction, which people in like before our batch actually did. So I feel that because everything is online right now, we're not living the actual uni life. But hopefully it gets better by the time you guys get to uni. So it'll be better for you, hopefully.
Our next question is from Maha to Archisa. Are full or partial scholarships given to international students?
I mean, like I said, it's barely given, but even if they are, they'll be quite less, probably around like 2,000 or 1,600 pounds. So that's partial, but it's obviously nothing compared to the fees we pay. But I wouldn't advise you to look forward to the scholarships because like 90% of the times they don't give it. And that's why it's good to just check with the universities whether they actually do offer scholarships. But mostly that will not be possible.
Okay, I think I missed this one earlier, but this is also sort of a general question. How long did you spend preparing for the UCAT/BMAT exams?
So you can take anywhere between 3 weeks to 2 months, ideally, to prepare for it. So sometimes it can be very luck based that you get an easy set and you get your answers quickly and you get a good score. But sometimes, like in my case, I prepared for like 2 months and I still got like such a hard set compared to my friends. And one of my friends prepared for like a week and got like a higher score than me, which was sad. But eventually, like my interviews turned out to be better than hers. So, like I said, it depends on what stage and how well you perform at each stage. So that's why you have something to look forward to always. But I would recommend you to spend at least a month focusing on UCAT from Medify.
I think that is all the questions we have. If anybody has any more, they can leave them in the chat.
I have a question here. Is a job given after completion of the course? So when you are studying here, I think from the fourth year onwards, like 4 to 6, you have clinical rotation. So you're going to be working in the clinic under a doctor, of course. But then you're not going. I feel like you need at least your foundation years to become a proper doctor and actually start working on your own. I guess I'm not too sure about that, but I know you do get to practice, like you have your clinical years and all of that. But personally, I'm planning on going to the UK for 1 year and completing my foundation and then starting to work because I don't think you just immediately get a job, especially as a doctor, right out of the 6 years, the 6 basic years.
Okay, the next question is volunteering important for credits as well as it is in some major countries?
So unlike American applications, we don't have any sort of credits in the UK for medicine specifically. So it's not exactly, like I said, some universities do consider it as a compulsion in order to apply. And even in your interviews, it's quite important, but it's nothing like an extra benefit to you. It's just like you have to do it in order to, have a good interview or have a good application. So it's not that you have to do it to get in, but it just improves your application as a whole. And I also got a question about what does the intermediates, the company which I talked about, do. So it's just a small group which my friend studying in Dundee, who's doing medicine as well, and I started. So because we've been through the whole application process of the UK, and because we know how hard it can get and how disappointing it can get at times, now we felt that by having this small group, we actually could conduct the interview sessions, which are like called MMI sessions, which are quite different from how the normal interviews are like, because this is more focusing on medicine, ethics, the university, etc. So we would help you prepare for specific university medical interviews, and with your general application, choosing your universities, and even your choosing your offers carefully. So this is just the email I've dropped in the chat. So if you guys are interested, I mean, I'll just drop in the chat. Yes, if anyone's interested in it, then you can definitely email us, and we would definitely help you.
Our next question also goes out to both speakers. What are some things you would recommend high school students do to prepare for medical classes and school?
Do you mean as a high school student, what could you study for med school, or just in med school? Like, how do you deal with med school? I don't know the question. Artisha?
I think they mean like
So, okay,
maybe
fine. So like
study
I mentioned,
or something like that.
The courses for sure.
so okay, so I think one of the things which I talked about was volunteering. So if you haven't done volunteering in your earlier like middle school years, definitely you should have a volunteering experience in your high school years. So I know that right now it'll be hard because it's online, but there are still a lot of volunteering opportunities available, which again I can help you with. And also, especially like for UK, doctor shadowing is something which you should do in your high school years. And also, I mean, apart from your extracurriculars like having something involving teamwork and other recreational activities, definitely I think Jay and I would advise you to focus on your academics, because you have the same concepts coming up in med school, not only just from 11th and 12th, but even from your middle school years. So if you didn't pay attention enough in your high school years, then you would have to spend time in med school revising the same concepts. So I actually use my high school textbooks while studying medicine at the same time, because a lot of concepts are like very similar. So I would advise you to focus on your academics as well.
Exactly. I'll say the same thing. I have to use my textbooks too. When you're in high school, I guess just enjoy high school in general and focus on getting in. Don't focus on what you're going to study in med school, because you're going to do that anyway when you enter med school. So just focus on high school, living your life, and yeah, that's it. Just make sure you get into med school. Don't worry about what you're going to do in med school, because that is something future you will have to worry about, and you'll manage it. So don't worry about it right now.
Our next question is from Meredith to Archisa. Does getting a degree in the UK allow you to practice anywhere in the world?
Okay, so this is like a common misconception, because if you okay fine, I think this degree means your MBBS degree, like your MBCHP degree. So after you get that, you're just a doctor. Okay fine, even if you include your training, which is 2 years after you graduate, even if you include those two years of training, you're still just a graduate doctor. You still need to do your residency. So if you're talking about residency, you can't do that anywhere. You have to take exams. For example, for the USMLE, for Canada, you still need to write the MCQE 1 and 2 exams. So you can't do your residency anywhere. But even for practicing, even after you do your residency in the UK or anywhere else, you still need to take some qualification exams, because each country has different requirements of doctors, and they still want to test if you match their criteria. But the thing is that in the UK, if you finish your residency and attain the highest level of qualification, so there's like, you have registrars, you have consultants, you have junior doctors, the different rankings of doctors in the UK. So once you get that highest ranking, which will probably take you around 15 years, then you can go to whichever country you want to. But it will still take a lot of time, and some countries may still ask you for an exam. Even in the UAE, in fact, doctors had to take an exam before practicing to check, because their knowledge has to match the ones with the patients here. So it's just very common for you to have any sort of exam if you want to practice anywhere, but it will take you time, definitely.
Our next question is from Maha to Archisha also. Did you do doctor shadowing? Any courses related to the medical field you can suggest?
Yeah, so I did do doctor shadowing. I did it for 3 years. So right now, you can do doctor shadowing from, in fact, it's called virtual shadowing right now, because you can actually do it in person. If you can, then that's really good. But if you haven't, if you have a virtual experience, it's equally valuable right now. And in the virtual experiences, they just go take you through different doctors and what a day in their life is like. And also, universities are currently offering a lot of these doctor shadowing experiences. So online, if you go and check about specific medical schools in the UK offering them, you would definitely find Zooms about this. And courses related to the medical field. So I would recommend two websites, Coursera and Future Learn. So I had done courses from both these websites. So if you're talking about courses related to the medical field, this also involves teamwork, communication, time management skills. So I watched, I did a course on communication in a diverse team as well. So that is equally valuable, because communication skills are extremely important when you're a doctor, because you have to talk to the patient and like a bunch of other staff members. So medical courses can include anything like cancer or genetics or molecular biology, anything which interests you, as long as you're interested in it. So anything.
Okay, so that was our last question. Thank you so much for sending your questions in, and thank you so much to our speakers for answering them.